Albert Einstein, arguably the greatest scientific mind of the 20th century, went to his grave completely terrified of one specific discovery in quantum physics. He famously called it spooky action at a distance. He was looking at a phenomenon where two subatomic particles could be separated by billions of light years, one on Earth and one at the very edge of the known universe. Yet, if you altered the spin or state of the particle on Earth, the particle on the other side of the cosmos would react and alter its state in the exact same millisecond. It completely broke the speed of light. It broke the concept of empty space. It proved that everything in the universe is invisibly, instantaneously connected in a cosmic web that modern scientists now call quantum entanglement. They act like this is a brand new, earth-shattering revelation. But if you actually open the ancient scriptures of Sanatana Dharma, you will find that the exact physics, the absolute mechanics of this instantaneous cosmic connection were perfectly mapped out, tested, and proven on Earth thousands of years ago. I've noticed that whenever modern society talks about ancient Hindu epics, they treat them entirely like fantasy novels. They read the stories of great sages, divine weapons, and incredible miracles, and they assume it is all just poetry and mythology meant to teach us basic morals. A lot of people miss this, but our ancient texts are not just storybooks. They are highly encrypted, incredibly advanced scientific logs describing the exact laws of quantum mechanics, universal consciousness, and advanced physics. Today, I am going to show you one specific event from the Mahabharata that completely proves the ancient sages understood quantum entanglement. We are going to look at the absolute science of the Paramatma, the Supersoul, and how one single grain of rice proved that the universe is not made of empty space at all. To truly grasp the sheer, terrifying magnitude of this science, we first have to understand what the ancient Vedas say about the structure of reality. Modern physics tells us that the universe is mostly empty space, but the ancient Upanishads, particularly the Svetasvatara Upanishad, reveal a completely different truth. They describe the human body and the universe itself as a tree. Sitting on the branches of this tree are two distinct birds. One bird is the individual soul, known as the Jivatma. That is you. That is your consciousness, experiencing the fruits of the tree, tasting the bitter and the sweet of material life, going through the endless cycles of joy and suffering. But sitting right next to you, on the exact same branch, in the exact same heart of every single living entity, is a second bird. This bird is not eating the fruits, it is simply observing. This is the Paramatma, the Supersoul. It is the localized expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, residing simultaneously in the heart of every human, every animal, every insect, and within the core of every single subatomic particle in existence. This is where the ancient science violently collides with modern quantum physics. Because the Paramatma is present inside your heart, and simultaneously present inside the heart of someone on the other side of the planet, the Supreme Lord acts as the ultimate instantaneous cosmic network. He is the quantum bridge. There is no such thing as empty space, because the Supersoul connects every single atom in a divine, inescapable grid of consciousness. And to prove exactly how this network operates, we must turn to one of the most intense, desperate, and awe-inspiring moments in the entire Mahabharata. The Pandavas, the rightful heirs to the throne of Hastinapura, had been cheated out of their kingdom in a rigged game of dice. They were stripped of their royal garments, humiliated in the assembly hall, and banished to live in the harsh, unforgiving wilderness of the Kamyaka forest for 12 long years. Life in the forest was brutal. As former emperors, they were accustomed to feeding thousands of guests and brahmanas every single day. But in the wilderness, they struggled to even feed themselves. Seeing their deep distress, the sun god, Surya, presented the eldest brother, Yudhishthira, with a divine, highly advanced technological artifact known as the Akshaya Patra. This was not a normal copper pot. The Akshaya Patra was a miracle of cosmic engineering. Surya gave them a specific rule for its operation. Every single day, the pot would yield an absolutely unlimited, inexhaustible supply of the most delicious, nourishing food. It could feed 10 people, or it could feed 10 million people. The supply would never, ever run out, but there was one strict condition. The pot would only produce this unlimited food until Draupadi, the wife of the Pandavas, ate her own meal. The very second Draupadi took her meal and washed the pot for the day, the Akshaya Patra's power would deactivate until the next sunrise. For years, this divine artifact saved them. They hosted great sages and thousands of brahmanas in the forest, feeding them all to full satisfaction, and only after everyone was fed would Draupadi eat her share and clean the vessel. But the Kauravas, the evil cousins who had banished them, could not stand the fact that the Pandavas were surviving and gaining merit in the forest. So, the wicked Duryodhana devised a sinister, highly calculated plan to have the Pandavas completely destroyed. Duryodhana knew of a specific sage named Durvasa Muni. Now Durvasa was an incredibly powerful, highly elevated mystic yogi, but he was universally feared across all three worlds for his utterly terrifying, volcanic temper. If he was insulted, or if a host failed to provide him with proper hospitality, Durvasa would instantly unleash a curse so devastating it could burn an entire kingdom to ash. Duryodhana intentionally invited Durvasa to his palace, treated him with lavish respect, and then politely requested that the sage visit his cousins, the Pandavas, in the forest. But Duryodhana specifically timed the request so that Durvasa would arrive late in the afternoon, long after Draupadi had already eaten and washed the Akshaya Patra. The trap was flawlessly set. Deep in the Kamyaka forest, the Pandavas were resting in their modest hermitage. Draupadi had just finished her meal. She had taken the Akshaya Patra, washed it completely clean, and set it aside for the next day. The divine supply of food was officially shut off. Suddenly, the forest went dead silent. Approaching the hermitage was the terrifying figure of sage Durvasa, accompanied by his 10,000 hungry, exhausted disciples. Yudhishthira and his brothers rushed out to receive the sage with the utmost respect. Durvasa looked at Yudhishthira and declared, "We have been traveling, and we are starving. We are going to the nearby river to bathe and perform our midday prayers. When we return, have a royal feast prepared for me and my 10,000 disciples." Without waiting for an answer, the sage and his massive entourage turned and marched toward the river. The Pandavas were frozen in absolute horror. They had no food. The Akshaya Patra was washed and deactivated. When Durvasa returned in an hour and found no feast waiting for him, his legendary anger would ignite. He would unleash a curse that would burn the Pandavas and their entire lineage to ashes on the spot. Yudhishthira panicked. The brothers looked at each other in sheer terror, completely powerless. Inside the hermitage, Draupadi realized the catastrophic danger they were in. She knew that no earthly power, no weapon, and no diplomacy could save them from the wrath of Durvasa. She was trapped in an impossible, fatal situation. In my opinion, what Draupadi did next is the ultimate lesson in human surrender. She did not try to strategize. She did not try to run. She fell to her knees, closed her eyes, and screamed out into the cosmic void. She prayed with every fiber of her being to the only entity capable of manipulating the very fabric of reality. She prayed to her eternal friend, her protector, the Supreme Lord of the universe, Krishna. The ancient texts state that the Supreme Lord is not bound by space or time. The very millisecond Draupadi's desperate cry echoed in the chamber of her heart, the fabric of space tore open. Lord Krishna, who was residing miles away in the city of Dvaraka, instantaneously appeared right inside the hermitage. Draupadi burst into tears, falling at his lotus feet, ready to explain the terrifying trap they were in. But Krishna raised his hand and stopped her. He didn't ask about Durvasa. He didn't ask about the curse. He looked at Draupadi and said, "Draupadi, I am incredibly hungry. Please fetch me something to eat immediately." Draupadi froze. She wept, entirely humiliated. "Oh, Krishna," she sobbed, "that is the exact problem. The sun god's pot has been washed. There is absolutely no food left in this entire forest. Sage Durvasa is coming with 10,000 men, and I have nothing to offer them, and now I have nothing to offer you. We are going to be destroyed." Krishna smiled a very calm, deep, knowing smile. Just bring me the pot, Draupadi. Let me see it. Trembling, she brought the freshly washed, empty copper vessel and placed it in Krishna's hands. The supreme architect of the cosmos looked deeply inside the pot. He reached his finger down to the very bottom rim. There, stuck stubbornly to the side, completely unnoticed by Draupadi when she was washing it, was one single microscopic grain of rice and a tiny fragment of a vegetable leaf. Lord Krishna carefully picked up that single grain of rice. He looked at Draupadi, smiled, and placed the grain into his mouth. He swallowed it, closed his eyes, and declared in a voice that reverberated through the subtle dimensions of the universe, "I am fully satisfied, and because I am satisfied, let the entire universe be satisfied." What happened next is the ultimate, mind-bending proof of ancient quantum entanglement. Miles away, standing waist-deep in the freezing waters of the river, sage Durvasa and his 10,000 disciples were preparing to march back to the hermitage to demand their feast. But the exact fraction of a second that Lord Krishna swallowed that single grain of rice and declared himself satisfied, an impossible biological anomaly hit the sages. Suddenly, Durvasa's stomach expanded. He let out a massive, echoing burp. He looked at his disciples in complete shock. Every single one of the 10,000 men standing in the river simultaneously grabbed their stomachs, burping loudly, groaning in physical pain, as if they had just consumed the largest, heaviest, most decadent feast of their entire lives. The hunger was completely, utterly erased. It was replaced by a suffocating sensation of being overfed to the point of sickness. Durvasa panicked. He looked at his men and said, "We have made a terrible mistake. Yudhishthira has surely prepared a massive feast for us, but I cannot eat a single bite. If we go back there and refuse his food, we will be committing a massive offense against a pure devotee. We must flee immediately." Terrified of insulting the Pandavas, the fearsome sage Durvasa and his 10,000 disciples scrambled out of the river and literally ran away into the deep forest, never returning to the hermitage. Back at the hut, Krishna opened his eyes and told the brothers to go call the sages for lunch. When they reached the river, the sages were completely gone. The disaster was averted. The curse was neutralized. Reality had been saved. Modern readers often view this as a charming fairy tale of a god performing a magic trick. But you must look at the exact, terrifying physics of what just happened. How does one entity eating a single grain of rice physically alter the biological digestive tracts of 10,000 men miles away? This is the science of the Paramatma network. Remember the Svetasvatara Upanishad. Lord Krishna is the supersoul sitting in the heart of Draupadi, sitting in the heart of Yudhishthira, and sitting right inside the heart of Durvasa Muni and every single one of his disciples. If you water the leaves of a massive tree, the water just rolls off. The leaves will dry up and die. But if you pour water directly onto the absolute root of the tree, that nourishment is instantaneously transmitted through the invisible quantum network of the trunk, feeding every single leaf, branch, and flower simultaneously. Krishna is the absolute root of all existence. Because he is the Paramatma, the central node of the cosmic entanglement grid, his physical sensation of satisfaction was instantly downloaded into the biological systems of the sages. There was no time delay. There was no physical food transferred. It was a pure, instantaneous transfer of data across the quantum field of consciousness. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance because modern science lacks the vocabulary to describe God. But the Vedic sages knew that there is nothing spooky about it at all. It is the perfect, flawless mechanics of a universe held together by the supreme intelligence of the Lord. A lot of people miss this, but this ancient story holds the absolute key to solving all modern human anxiety, depression, and endless dissatisfaction. Today, we live in a world that is obsessed with watering the leaves. We try to find happiness by feeding our individual senses. We chase money, we chase relationships, we chase social media validation, and we chase physical pleasure. We are desperately trying to satisfy ourselves while completely ignoring the root of the tree. And just like watering a leaf, the satisfaction never lasts. We are left feeling empty, disconnected, and spiritually starved, no matter how much material wealth we accumulate. The story of the Akshaya Patra, is the ultimate scientific formula for human peace. The Pandavas were stripped of their wealth, their kingdom, and their dignity. They had absolutely nothing. But because they understood the science of the supersoul, because they knew how to surrender to the root of reality, a single grain of rice was enough to bend the laws of physics and protect them from total annihilation. You do not need to figure out how to satisfy the entire world. You do not need to solve the impossible, terrifying problems of your daily life through sheer mental force. If you connect your consciousness back to the Paramatma within your heart, if you offer your actions, your fears, and your love directly to the Supreme Lord, the entire universe is forced to align in your favor, in my opinion. This proves that Sanatana Dharma is not just a religion of rituals. It is a religion of absolute reality. Our ancestors did not guess at the structure of the cosmos. They did not need particle accelerators to prove that everything is connected. They lived in perfect harmony with the quantum network of the Paramatma. The next time you hear a modern physicist talk about entanglement, or the illusion of space and time, do not let them claim it as a modern victory. Recognize it as the ancient, undisputed truth of our scriptures. If this deep dive into the quantum physics of the Mahabharata completely changed your perspective on our ancient texts and the terrifying beauty of the supersoul, I need you to hit that like button right now. The algorithm must be forced to push this authentic scriptural science to every corner of the globe. I read every single comment, so I want you to tell me exactly what you think. Have you ever felt that invisible, instantaneous connection to the Paramatma during a moment of deep crisis? Does knowing that the Supreme Lord is sitting inside your own heart, maintaining the entire cosmic network, give you peace? Tell me your story in the comments below. Make sure you are subscribed and have the notification bell turned on so you never miss these deep dives into the unedited truth of Sanatana Dharma. Stay faithful, stay devoted, and I will see you in the next one.